In trying to write fiction, you have a certain state of mind that you need to achieve, or is it more of a disciplinary process, in the sense that you just do it, bro. You just do it. Put in the hours, start writing, and if you achieve that state that you're trying to achieve, well and good. But if not, that's also fine. So this podcast is just that attempt from me to learn how to write fiction. What kind of fiction do I like? Well, I don't really read a lot of fiction. I don't read much fiction, but I watch movies and television shows, and I consume stories in a lot of forms, just audio as well, storytelling in audio format. And I consume stories. I'm a consumer of interesting stories, especially well-made TV shows. Not well-made as in big budget or something, but just good writing. I appreciate good writing, good stories, interesting characters. That's what I like. But I don't read much fiction. Although I read a lot of non-fiction, but that's biographies are story-like. Autobiographies are very story-like, What else? I have read some fiction. I have read the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I have read the Godfather, and the what else have I read? Some over the years I've read quite a few. I've read some Sherlock Holmes. I've read some. What else? What else do I have on my... not many books are present right now. But yeah, I have consumed some literature over the years. I have not written anything. I have not made any stories. I'm not a storyteller in that sense. I don't have the intuition. Although I have in verbal storytelling, I think I have improved in the last few years. I can tell stories that happen in my own life or someone else's life in such a way that people like, just in general conversation. Most of the people are good at it. Some are better at it, some are bad. But I'm good. So that's the extent of my experience in storytelling, in creating a new story, trying to understand what excites you in a story. All those things are unexplored from my side, right? So this is an attempt to create a process that will allow as an output some stories that I can maybe, I don't know, publish or whatever. Not publish, just put it on the internet and, maybe act it out with some friends, just like a play or something. Maybe a couple of people, maybe, who knows what can happen, right? But I need some process, and I need to create that process, and I need to hone that process and understand that process. And it's a long process, of course. You need some, with a process like that, when you get into the nitty gritty and trying to make decisions on where to take in your mind, where to take the story, at every point you need good intuition. you know. It's not a mathematical theorem, or there's no one right answer. There are many right answers, there are many wrong answers, there are better answers and much better answers and some genius answers, you know what I'm saying. Like, some stories are so interesting and fascinating because they take these turns. And I have a I need to learn. I need to get that intuition in me. I need to see how that can form quickly. R- Taking in a lot of stories is one way to do it, right? Taking in a lot of interesting stories. I like good stories. I just watched Horace and Pete, made by Louis C.K. And what a great story. What a great story. That's a great story. Just there is, what I like about it is just that it's so oh my god, there are it's so it's the characters are really, oh my god, who's this guy? The can you also hear the rocket launches that are happening? Okay, anyway, sorry for the distraction. I like the characters are that the fact that characters are really broken and flawed, deeply flawed, and some interesting things happen, and interesting scenes happen, and interesting dialogue, and fascinating point of views, and interesting moments. Actually, the moments of that TV show are really interesting. And I I'm sure I don't have the correct intuition to make something like that. Definitely not. That I don't have it. Just a natural looking drama. My mind goes into weird things, weirder stories, in because I'm more like science fiction, because I start trying to figure out how to set up a world, and then my mind goes to a place where I'm no longer in the normal world. I'm in a, like a science fictiony world. So rather than fight it, I'll embrace it and let it guide me. And this is the process that starts now. The 8-minute intro is not it's too long. So let's get into the idea. Let's say if we have a society that develops some technology where we can easily create hive minds amongst people. You can join different hive minds, and the beauty of these hive minds is like it has some of this technological breakthroughs which were provided by the cryptocurrency technology, decentralization. And somehow politically it works. That's my point, that politically it works because of in these hive minds, things are fair. The thing about economy and the thing about politics is, if every rule that is made is enforced 100% of the times, and without any delay, and without any delay of judgment, and with absolute, I don't know, there are some moral dilemmas even there, of course, definitely the philosophical endpoints and the cul-de-sacs of improvement, but it is possible to do much better than we are doing right now. If all the laws that we have right now are 100% applied every time, if murder is punished 100% of the time, and it will be a pretty nice system if people pay for the carbon tax, and if they are like if technology can somehow take these laws and make it easy to apply them. And some people think, okay, that's mass surveillance and everything, but that's going to come anyway. Mass surveillance is here. We don't have a choice anymore. We are already here. Why not just embrace it as an individual and somehow make this technology available, somehow have this technology that allows people to communicate with each other without using spoken language, but using something which is much deeper than language. Language can be misconstrued. Language has irony and sarcasm, which is hard to understand. There is too much information. There's humor. There's all these things which are good in language, which we find are virtuous in a language, can also cause a lot of rift in online discussions. You don't see a face. You don't hear a voice. You just have a bunch of text in front of you, and then you try to understand what the intention of the person was, what they were trying to say, what the values of that person are. And inevitably, because we are made to do that, like we are designed in this way, or something, we just happen to be designed in such a way, or we are as a society are that people that we take the worst possible or one of the bad versions of that interpretation, okay, instead of taking the most charitable view. He might be saying this because he might have, okay, someone cut you off in traffic. The most charitable way to see it would be, oh, he must be having an emergency, a medical emergency or something, and I am the one in his way, right? The most charitable view would be that, but our tendency is to not do that. We don't think of it in that way usually. But if we are able to communicate, in case of traffic also, that's a great example, because if someone cuts you off when you're walking, you don't get angry that angry at them, you don't show them the finger and tell them to fuck off. There is a lack of facial expression and interaction in a vehicular collision that creates vehicular interaction between people that creates this problem, right? Similarly with online text and communicating online through the screen in front of you, and what if I'm envisioning a world where that has already happened, and there are these not factions, there are these big hive minds, big and small, and just explore how the world would be in that place. How will the world be? When a person is born, let's start from there. When a new baby is born, maybe you don't connect it to your hive mind. Your parents the parents don't connect it to their own hive mind quickly. They let it grow. They let the mind grow individually first, otherwise it will be completely overwhelmed or whatever. There are dangers in this, something like that, because so there is a period where the mind is supposed to be formed, and then it can become a little bit of a rite of passage thing to be welcomed into the hive mind. That rite of passage that was taken away from our society because of these Western values. Or nothing against the Western values. It's fantastic. This technology is, I love it, but we don't have a rite of passage anymore as we grow. Women still have a little bit through, because their puberty is more traumatic, I would say, than guys, because of all the, you know. And for guys, it's kind of gone out of the culture, and a lot of people talk about it. This this ritualistic thing that has been present in a lot of cultures, where boys, when they are turned into men, they have to go through some hardship, some ritual. Maybe this is maybe this is where you first are developed individually as a brain. Let to develop. As soon as you reach some point, you're put into this this place where it's a bit of a purgatory, not purgatory, but like a provisional place where you can stay and try to become a working member of this hive mind. Because a hive mind mechanics, going back to the economics of the situation, you are still required to do your part somehow. There is work to be done, someone has to do it, and the more someone does, the better they should be rewarded by the system, by the whole system. Because you want to, there has to be some economy, some thriving economy. And I need to figure out, this is the setup, what kind of stories can come out of this setup. One is just, it's hard to see how to create some conflict politically, because it can, I envision it more like an anthology, like a bunch of stories in this world, which is, for better or worse, is now the world where corporations are replaced by hive mind and democratic these, and politically it's actually much stabler than our times. And what kind of stories would come out of it? What kind of stories can I tell in this place? And I'll ponder over this, and I'll share my thoughts tomorrow on this 0 number episode of what do we call this podcast? Writing fiction? Storytelling, telling stories, understanding, storytelling. Everything you do is understanding. 3 podcasts, 3 understanding. It's fine. Understanding, storytelling. Understanding, storytelling. Understanding, storytelling. It's all right for now. Episode number 0. Hopefully see you tomorrow or day after, or whenever I make any progress.